Hello students, today let us see what are the different issues existing in the community and how awareness could be created and the actions that community psychologists could take to solve these social problems. India is a young and developing nation that has issues needs to be addressed for the development of the nation. Issues like discrimination, corruption, illiteracy, child marriage, poverty, child labor, etc. And community consciousness for these ever multiplying issues and social problems could be aroused by disseminating information at school, college and university level, educating families and societies about them and the relevance and effect of their individual efforts to their immediate family, society, community and country at large. So broadly we can say that community education is for community within community. And CV of Scotland, which is Organisation for Community Development, has given a definition for community education. It says community education is a process designed to enrich the lives of individuals and groups by engaging with people living within a geographical area or sharing common interests to develop voluntarily a range of learning, action and reflection opportunities determined by their personal, social, economic and political needs. Alan Tweltree, who is an English academic and community development expert, has given a story which suggests how to identify issues and act on it. He cites the amusing and common development tale of two workers on a housing estate in an inner city London. They set up a tenants association to influence local council for timely repairs to the properties. Residents seems interested, but when the actual meeting is held, only 2 people turn up. They again repeat the process, but the attendants remain 3. Some residents then come to them looking for help in setting up a bingo group. This time the initiative is resounding success. So this story highlights some of the key real-world issues in community development, that is starting where the people are and the discrepancy between what a specific community may want to do and what the community worker may identify as the key issue. And community issues are generally of 2 types, which are problem-based or vision-based. Problem-based is, for example, toxic dump in a residential area, poor public transport, homeless people on middle-class streets, etc. And vision-based approach to these problems could be to see how could we make this a more healthy community and how youth could be involved in the community development programs. Again, Alan Tweltree suggests that to identify issues, community psychologists could pay attention to what is happening in the community and going to visit neighborhood areas and keeping in contact with local people, attend local council meetings, meet with community leaders and community representatives, and find out if the issue has existed before and what all the actions have been taken. So he asks people to gather as much as information possible. And in finding out what are the issues existing in the communities, there is usually 6 common mechanisms involved. Identifying issues formally, conducting interviews, questionnaires, request for submission on a particular issue, focus group, public meetings and forums. And through 2 types of research, community issues could be identified. They are quantitative research and qualitative research. Quantitative research is presented as numbers, percentages, statistics, example data collected by the Australian Bureau in the National Census, and quantitative data is often associated with hard science, whereas qualitative research is a means of seeing the world through the eyes of others. It includes focus groups or interviews, and it is more exploratory and flexible in nature than quantitative research. Though qualitative research does not have its base on hard statistics, it has developed its own discipline, rigor and methodology, particularly through the work of social sciences. So when community psychologists identify issue, they also try to describe the extent or the parameters of the issue, refine the understanding of the issue, gather more information, participate in research and analysis, promote community involvement, make contacts and develop networks, motivate others. So basically they try to lay the foundations for effective development of goals and strategies. Now let us see how information could be made available to the public, or how awareness could be created in the public. Arousing community consciousness and action for handling problems is possible through formal and informal education, community development and participation, adult education, and youth work. So apart from educating at the school, college, or university level, awareness could be created about the social problems in the public through conducting seminars, which is a public meeting at which an issue of interest to the community is discussed, or performing street theatre, which is a powerful means to convey a profound message in a way that is easily understood and is also entertaining, or organizing demonstrations, rallies, and marches. These are classic social actions which include signs, long speeches, or some elements of street theatre. Awareness could also be created among people through picketing or organizing a strike, and it is usually applied at a particular plant or corporation or industry, but there is also a possibility of general strike, a situation where everyone in the group, a community, or even a whole country refuses to work for a day or a few days or indefinitely until those in power accept to listen to people's demand. Organizing a boycott is another way, which consists of refusing to deal or trade with a company, a city, state, or country that the boycotters believe is doing something morally wrong. Or a sit-in could also be organized, which is often an act of civil disobedience, involves people occupying a space, perhaps the office of an official, who made or represent a policy that the group is protesting. And the powerful means of recent times are mass media and internet, and through them information could be provided to a large group of people at one go, and creating awareness and arousing community consciousness becomes easy and effective through them, as they are very popular, entertaining, and educating. And studies have demonstrated that when long-term mass communication campaigns are designed and executed according to sound principles, they can play a meaningful role in changing behavior, either directly or by helping bring about environmental change at the institutional, community, or policy level. UNESCO states that whether through the media or school, education must inform, but it also must form. It must provide them with a sense of meaning to guide their actions and provide a basis for the analysis of concepts that will prevent chauvinist and irrational explanations from being accepted. In creating awareness, information could be provided to the public more persuasively so that they engage in action. Information should be presented in the manner that it emphasizes the urgency to take action. And arousing community consciousness may or may not be easy, but response to the social problem would result only when the individual understands the importance of the issue at hand, the difference his contributions could make, and the consequence of his actions. Therefore, presenting the social problems to the public should persuade them to take action. And there are two routes to persuasion, which are central and peripheral. If information is presented through central route to persuasion, it consists of thoughtful consideration of ideas, concepts, and arguments of the message. So when a receiver is doing central processing, he or she is being an active participant in the process of persuasion. And central processing has two prerequisites. It can occur when the receiver has both the motivation and the ability to think about the message and its topic. And if the listener doesn't care about the topic of the persuasive message, he or she will almost certainly lack the motivation to do the processing. On the other hand, if the listener is distracted or has trouble understanding the message, he or she will lack the ability to do the central processing. Peripheral routes to persuasion occurs when the listener decides whether to agree with the message, based on other cues besides the strength of the argument or ideas in the message. For example, a listener might decide to agree with a message because the source appears to be an expert or is attractive. Peripheral route also occurs when the listener is persuaded because he or she notices that the message has many arguments but lacks the ability or motivation to think about them individually. And fear is also a peripheral cue and has been found to be an effective tool in arousing communities' awareness about social issues. Now, why does it matter which route an audience member takes when hearing a persuasive message? Because research has found that when attitude change occurs through central route to persuasion, it lasts longer and people engage in active action. And some psychological aspects need to be taken care of while designing messages to arouse community consciousness. Because individual and groups differ, and those for whom the subject has personal relevance do central processing of the message. For them, the message must have rich content. Others process the message peripherally. For them, advertisements with peripheral cues should be designed. For example, if one has to design AIDS awareness ads, they face two target groups, parents of teenagers and the teenagers. Parents of teenagers find the issue personally relevant and are also knowledgeable about AIDS, so they would seek high quality messages that are rich in information and logical. On the other hand, the teenagers know less about AIDS and do not find it personally relevant. So for them, peripheral processing of ads is better and should be designed accordingly. Now, having seen how to identify community issues and the different means through which awareness could be created, let us see what action plan community psychologists could have to solve these issues. First, as we have seen, assessing community situation is important. And community assessment is a process of gathering, analyzing and reporting information about the needs of a community and the capacities or strengths that are also currently available in the community to meet those needs. So a community assessment begins by convening a group of citizens, establishing a vision and prioritizing the issues that require change. And after assessing the community situation, key problems has to be identified, which would also involve bringing people together to identify what has to be solved and identify goals and strategies and forming and maintaining the organization to meet these goals and strategies are important at this stage. And community psychologists should also have an alternative, because analyzing the alternative objective of the plan gives direction and sustains the plan when the main objective does not seem to work out. And finally, after identifying and having an action plan is important. So putting together a plan of action, who's going to do what, when, how, resources required, etc. is important. It is also called strategic state. Now, managing relationship is also important for the plan to succeed. There should be good cooperation, coordination, support and security among the members working on the issue. And finally, having an action plan, community psychologists should make sure that they evaluate that plan regularly. They need to make sure that there is a good progress on it, and there should be evaluation done to assess its process and progress towards the goal. This model is cyclical. It's a permanent process that becomes routine in the ongoing maintenance and functioning of the group. Now let us see some of the actions which could be taken to improve well-being. Community psychologists could see to it that culturally appropriate family services and support to migrants be set up in the community. Information regarding existing community services, resources and benefits reach migrant communities, and mental health and other services in the area be strengthened and made more accessible. And strategies to curb negative intercultural attitudes be implemented by government and services. Local government, policy makers and community workers should engage in ongoing consultations with the community to resolve community problems. policing of certain areas should be increased and crime prevention measures developed. And strategies to enhance business and employment opportunities could become a priority, and community events, celebrations and festivals could be valued and encouraged, and elderly clubs could receive adequate support and funding, and community psychologists should involve youth and make more youth services, recreational activities and opportunities to improve the well-being of community. And affordable education and learning opportunities could be provided to everyone in the community, and an ongoing community wellness group could be set up and run by community members to identify emergent areas of need, initiate projects and monitor progress. Now, having seen how issues could be identified and different means to create awareness and the action plan, let us see some of the case studies where community psychologists have actually achieved success in helping some of the disadvantaged member of the community. One such case study is of a community-based support system which was organized to provide housing services, educational and employment enhancement through the use of natural context, and these contexts included access to regular schools and universities, access to companies in all economic sectors, as well as the diversity of social resources available for the general public. So, community psychologists in 1989 created the first group home in the community that provided a housing solution for 4 institutionalized people, 3 men and 1 woman, with long-term hospitalization, who could not be discharged due to a lack of social support. So, after 3 years, the women, when re-employed, decided to leave hospital care and live in the community. And now currently the organization owns 3 different spaces in the city as housing alternatives for 21 persons who lack community support, and all are used with different profiles. For some it is permanent and for others it is transitory. There are no time limitations involved, and in some situations they also work as crisis support or with the management. The study concluded that the length of time in the community was positively correlated with a greater sense of community and the effective use of community resources. And the participants reported that the housing experience had specifically contributed for their emotional and physical well-being. We could also take another example of the support employment program, which sought to help people with the experience of mental illness in the open labor market. This paradigm states that a larger number of people achieve success through their professional integration, and this is based on the premise that all individuals, despite their differences, should have equal opportunities to reach the labor market and should actively participate in society. This may seem like a simple and linear concept, but it makes a large difference when implemented. The professional areas of the 18 new opportunities were created during the year 2007, and of all the opportunities made available, 6 were successfully completed, 4 resulted in a working contract, 11 transitioned into training for 2008, and 2 were less successful as because of a health reason for one, and the other decided to go back to school. These case studies demonstrate that community psychologists could actively involve the disadvantaged member of the society and could create means for them to have more resources available and lead a more productive life in the community. And with similar principles and premises, there was another support education paradigm which focused its attention on the relevance of academic success factors. Now, people with the experience of mental illness often have unfinished degrees. So, the opportunity to return to school to complete such degrees or diplomas was transformed into an element for the process of building individual social support systems. And these initiatives' impact has increased the job options and personal and family satisfaction. And since 2000, the program supporting the educational area has provided 350 people with an experience of mental illness, and among them 250 participants were integrated in continuing education program, examples like computer or languages, and 100 people in regular curricula for basic degrees to secondary and universities. So all these case studies demonstrate that community psychologists could actually go ahead and conduct research and involve the vulnerable population in their work.